What's up, Michael O'Hara and Nameless Dean? Hiro Harada, what's up? What you up to, Harada? Ruin any good games lately? Hey, what's up, Morty? Hey, check it out. So I played the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, and I'm gonna make a dedicated video talking about my thoughts on the game after eventually pretty extensive testing, right? Hey, what's up, 3Dizzle? But one thing that I realized playing the beta is that I think the hammer is so awesome in that game. And so I'm going to try and learn hammer. I made a new poison hammer, which looks pretty cool, in Worlds, and I'm going to become Hammer Boy. Right? So let's try and learn hammer, and we're going to start by killing this really Pokemon-looking lizard who I really like. Nice whiff to start the day. Hammer is so sick. I did not expect to enjoy hammer that much. My least favorite thing about the hammer in this game is the power charge mechanic, and they just completely fixed it perfectly in the new game. So it's like, I mean, it's gonna be so awesome. What do you think the last Tekken DLC will be? I don't know. I heard somebody say that there are credible Miguel rumors, which is obviously incredible. If it's true, you'll see me play Tekken 8 again by the end of the year, which is obviously exciting. But at the same time, you know, just because I want to play Miguel doesn't mean that the game is suddenly good. I heard, Miguel, that was you? Well, where did you hear it from? Is it real? Or are you pulling stuff out of your ass that you just used to drop a deuce? Was that rumor also a deuce that you dropped? Are you the man who drops deuces? I am the one who drops fat turds. Hammer is sick. Hey, what's up, Uncle Hyena? Yeah, it's good to be back. I realized that I had some time today, so I might as well, you know, hang out with you guys. I also need to tell you guys a story. Something happened yesterday, and I now have to move again. You made it up? Okay, in that case, I think the last DLC of the year, or I pretty much know for a fact then that it's going to be either fucking Lam or Martin. Both of them are going to be nightmares in terms of game design with heat, so I think if you ever wanted to, you know, drop out of Tekken 8, now's probably the time. I mean, we shouldn't have bought the game in the first place. Hey, what's up, RTQ? I'm a hammer guy now, what do you think? It was just hearsay? Okay. Yeah, a redesigned Negan, like his move list with an original character, is my, like, ideal update. I mean, okay, ideal update is Bob or Miguel. If I could get either of those, that would, you know, be super sick. And then the other things that they could really do would be Katarina, which isn't going to happen, Gigas, which isn't going to happen, Negan, which isn't going to happen. Why do I have to move? Well, it's my biggest want for season 2. I want them to I want major balance updates that actually change up the balance. I want characters that are currently bottom tier to suddenly be high tier, characters that are high tier to suddenly be a lot worse, and I want everybody to meet somewhere in the middle and for the balance overall to be a lot more reasonable. That's a big ask, because Namco don't want to do the work associated with fixing their balance, but that's probably my biggest thing. And then system, I'm stuck in the head. System changes to heat, obviously. I think heat needs to be rebalanced in a way where attempting heat engagers should come with more risk. If you attempt a down 4-2 and it launches in Tekken, it launches crouchers, then it's going to be a punishable move, minus 12, 13, 14, depending on the character. If you use a down 4-2 that doesn't launch crouchers, then it's going to be safe on block to balance out the fact that it can't be used for mix-ups. That is some perfect and pretty intelligent balancing. But with heat engagers, they are essentially even more powerful than mid-launchers. I think if you get the choice between hitting with your down 4-2 and hitting with your heat engager, you might actually, depending on your character, want to hit with the heat engager more, because it's just so powerful, right? But the risk involved with attempting the heat engager is comparatively extremely low, and that is the main systematic balance failure of the game right now. Now the reason I will have to move is this. We have a neighbor who has been extremely disruptive and loud. They're a family, and they have loud fights and they scream at night. And I get up to go to work at 6 a.m. so that doesn't really work for me. And I've had to go out and tell them several times, just please be quiet, because it's so stressful to live next to somebody like that. I'm sure some of you have experienced it. It's not a fun thing. Yesterday, I was home alone, and they started screaming in a way that they haven't before. I could tell that it was something bad was going on, and it sounded like it was getting violent. So I opened up my door, and I just barely had time to see this guy wailing on his wife. He was beating the shit out of his wife, and she was screaming, and their 2-year-old kid was standing next to them just watching. He's probably used to it. And then the husband, who had cracked his wife 2 or 3 times in the head, I think, I didn't see exactly where he connected, started running away, and she screamed, stop him, somebody get him. So I grabbed him by his jacket, slammed him to the ground, and then put him in a headlock using my leg. So I had his neck, in a headlock using my legs on the ground, and I said, "You're staying here until authorities show up. You're not going anywhere." And he didn't like that, and he got very aggressive, and he started talking about how he wants to hurt me, how he wants to rape me, things like that. And eventually some other people showed up. Some of the people who work here, who run this apartment complex, showed up and asked me to go back home. And after that, things calmed down a little bit, but he's less than 10 meters away from me right now, and because he still lives right there. and he obviously doesn't like me right now. And if it was just me here, I wouldn't really worry that much about it, but you know, I live with my girlfriend and she needs to be able to feel safe. So the biggest lucky break I've had in a long time is, as this like thing is happening, the manager of the entire apartment complex happened to be walking by, because he lives here as well, and he saw the whole thing. So he said, how about you and me talk about this tomorrow, we'll work something out. And I just went and saw him, and he's going to, is he supposed to be in jail? No. This is Sweden, dude. You can barely get help from emergency services if you're physically dying. I did call the cops. They did send a car, but I don't think they even spoke to the guy. They kind of drove around the area and then left. Right? So they're going to change us to another apartment on the other side of this entire area, quite far away from here. That's bigger and nicer than the one we have, and we won't. We'll be paying the same rent as we are right now, and we just shook hands on it. So we're going to be moving in the next few days to this place that looks really nice. So I'm very excited about that, and then hopefully, you know, I'm going to have better sleep and things are going to be calming down. But I can't stay here right now because the guy is bigger than me by a margin, and he's got the single tear face tattoo, which I think is supposed to signify that you've been to prison or killed somebody in prison. Yeah. So, yeah, I need to get out. It's weird. It's like the third time I've had to talk to you guys on stream about getting into a violent altercation with someone. Obviously never because I have provoked anybody or anything like that, but I spoke to my girlfriend and she says that I do have a little bit of an overinflated thing where if I see something violent going down, I want to help, right? So that one time when I was in a police interrogation room in Japan for like 8 hours and I got my fucking face caved in was because this guy went crazy and tried to kill my boss, who was a 40-year-old tiny Chinese woman, and he was like, again, fucking twice my size. And so I had to try and choke him out to stop him. He tried to bite my fingers off. It was this whole thing, but I was just trying to help. And yesterday, you know, I see this guy fucking wailing on his wife with his 2-year-old kid watching, and I jumped in. But I promised my girlfriend that I'm not going to do anything like that ever again. Like, even if I see somebody being stabbed, because at this point it just ends up being disruptive and unsafe for me and her. Again, if I was living alone, maybe I would, you know, do it differently, but my main priority is to keep her happy and safe, obviously. So yeah, it's hopefully the last time anything like this happens. Yeah, it's the other thing, like I've unfortunately been in a bunch of these stupid brawls, whether it's been you know, bar fights or whatever, and so far I haven't lost, so to speak. I haven't been seriously injured or anything, because I've been able to handle myself reasonably well, you know. But that's just luck, obviously, to an extent as well. And like, some of these guys are way bigger than me, and you know, might have weapons, whatever. So it's just not worth it. And there's no more good Samaritan frame. From now on, I'm just gonna focus on my own safety, and I know that's trash and shit, and I wish that the world wasn't like that, but that's just the reality we live in right now. And Sweden is extremely unsafe. You hear about people who like get into a fight, and then later that day somebody shows up to their apartment with a machine gun and turns it into cheese, or throws a hand grenade through the window. Things like that happen every day in Sweden now. We have more fatal shootings, like murders by gun, than any other country in Europe. So yeah, I'm not gonna take any stupid risks. But it's such a fucking shame when it's gotten to the point where you see a woman being severely beaten by her husband who is twice her size, and the correct answer is to just ignore it. You know what I mean? It's one of the reasons I wanted to stream. I guess I kind of wanted to, you know, get some of this shit off my chest as well. It's anxiety inducing, I mean, you can imagine. But I've got pepper spray by the front door, and if I doubt it, but if something happens, if he shows up. So it might be the last stream in this apartment. Wow, 160? Oh, I got him. Hey, the hammer is sick. I really like the hammer. Poison seems surprisingly effective on a slow weapon like this. I guess I can do the spinning bludgeon attack, and then... I hope your conscience doesn't eat you. You know, that's a good point, Orange Zoda, because yesterday I was after it happened, you know, the adrenaline after something like that is very, very uncomfortable, and it gives you anxiety, right? So I was like, I regret intervening, but at the same time, I was like, if I hadn't done anything, and I mean, maybe, you know, fucking killed her or something, would I have, you know, felt even worse? I don't know. So I'm just gonna make a rule now. No more fucking vigilante bullshit, because and then I'm just gonna stick to that. If it's my family, my friends, or something goes down in my place of employment, then that's a different story. But apart from that, I'm fucking done trying to help people. Yeah, anti-monitor, that's probably the right call. It's probably the right call. Did I ever play Urban Rain? No, I don't even know what Urban Rain is. Is it any good? What genre of game is it? You guys want to go fight this big guy up here? Is it new? It seems cool, really? What is it? Right now, I'm just really looking forward to Wilds. I mean, based on that beta we just had, Wilds is going to be... Honestly, Wilds is going to be amazing. Beat 'em up? Alright. The only beat 'em up I considered playing recently was it Streets of Rage 4 or something? Paul and Law are in it? Really? Paul and Law, huh? Could they have picked cooler characters? Of course they couldn't. Of course they couldn't, because, you know. I'm surprised it's not Jin and Kazuya and Oscar and Lily. That's what I would expect. Tekken Force? Yeah, double doofus. It's a doofus type game. Well, you know, they might have cool original characters that aren't from Tekken. Maybe that's, if I play that game, maybe that's what I'll do. I kind of feel like, oh, I should play this game because law is in it. I mean, that just makes you even more convenient for these fucking developers. You know, they can put guest characters as marketing ploys in games, but it doesn't actually say anything about the quality of the gameplay or anything like that. You want to beat 'em up game mode for T8? Yeah, it's not a terrible idea. God knows it's better than playing online. Inscription playthrough, I think it's gonna happen at some point. You've actually like kind of impressed me with your description of it, and then I've seen so many people like describe it as being ridiculously high quality. Thing is, I am not that smart, so I don't think I like puzzles. But the only puzzles that I ever do good at are word games. I'm good at crosswords. I did a crossword yesterday, which I was able to solve quite easily. And you know, word puzzles, especially in English, specifically in English, I do quite well. I'm not as good at Swedish ones, but other like puzzles and games, I'm not clever enough, I guess, to do really well at them. So you might be disappointed if I play, because the way I understood it was that it's basically a puzzle game, right? You have to roll cancel right here, which I am annoyed by. So I'm doing the spinning bludgeon to get poison on the monster as fast as possible. I think that might be a good strat for a poison hammer, right? Oh damn, I'm on fire. Oh, I got poison on. So now that poison is on, and this takes for 20 at a time, which is great. Oh damn, there's a flying monster here? Oh, it's that guy who always shows up and ruins everything. Damn. He's so powerful, this dragon bastard. I'm gonna use the body of the dinosaur here as a shield until one of them leaves, and then I will follow this guy after one of them leaves, because this is the one I want to fight right now. Oh wow, that's bad. I need to heal. There's a ledge here. We might get a jump going, or a mount. Yeah, that was gonna happen. Do crossword puzzles actually qualify as puzzles? The only way to solve them is to preemptively know the word. It's a good point. I don't know what the definition of a puzzle is. But if a puzzle is something that you can solve by thinking about it with no prior knowledge, then you are obviously right. Let's end this expedition and go and see if I can make some better armor. We did get one kill, so, you know. It's a bit of both, yeah. When GeoGuessr came out, I actually did okay at that. Not like these, like you see these guys who can, like, you know, I mean, are ridiculous at GeoGuessr, but just when it came out and started to get a little bit of popularity, I would sometimes, just to kill time, do a little bit of GeoGuessr. And I got it right, like, pretty often. PC specs for Wilds. I don't remember my own PC specs, but when I streamed it, I had no issues. It actually ran quite well. And my PC is powerful. Maybe I can check my specs for you, and then maybe I can remember them as well. How do you check your computer specs? This is when you realize that I am not the kind of guy to ask about, you know, technical stuff. This is where you realize that I'm basically computer illiterate. As a Soulsborne player, would you recommend Monster Hunter? Definitely. I would definitely recommend Monster Hunter, specifically if you like Dark Souls. What you have here is kind of similar combat, but every single fight is a boss fight. You have a lot of repeatable boss fights. The fights are long. But then you also have the action RPG loop, where you're not trying to clear a story, you're more trying to fight powerful monsters. You loot them, and you use the parts that you loot to make more powerful gear, and then use the more powerful gear to kill even more powerful monsters until you get to the end game, like ultra bosses, kind of like Final Fantasy, where you have these like end game super powerful monsters that you have to be a Chad to go up against, right? Okay, so let's see if I can find any information about what kind of a computer I have. You can pace yourself. Yeah. Here's what I'll say. If you think World, what I'm playing right now, looks even a little bit cool, then you should definitely be excited for Wilds, and go back and look at my Wild stream. It's essentially this, but everything is improved insanely, and the weapons are so good. I tried all 14 weapons. In case you don't know, in Monster Hunter, the weapons are the classes. So every weapon has its entirely own move list and playstyle, and functions completely differently. So when you pick a weapon, you essentially pick your class. Press Windows plus R, type DX diag. It's going to delete my entire computer, right? Do you want to check if your drivers are digitally signed? To check your driver's Windows might connect to the internet. No. Okay, here we go. Diagnostics tool. I have operating system Windows 11 64-bit. My language setting is English. My system manufacturer is Acer. The system model is a P03-640. My BIOS, which I don't know what it is an R01-B1. My processor, and I think this is maybe where it gets relevant, is a 12th generation Intel R Core TM. It's an i5 12400F, 12 CPUs, 2.5 gigahertz. My memory is 16,384 megabyte RAM. So I'm guessing that means 16 gig. I don't know. And I don't know what my graphics card is, but it's a good one. Okay, boomer. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, this is new. I am invested in it. You know, and so far it's been running every single game that I've tried on this computer. I can RTX 4070. Yeah, okay. Sure. Every single game that I've tried on this computer so far, I can run at maximum graphical settings without performance issues. So I can play Tekken 8, for example, on everything on Ultra and have no issues. Diablo sledge. This looks pretty cool. 884, so it's really high damage. It looks like a Triceratops, dude. But it's got minus 25% affinity, so basically you get dull hits all the time. Resolution monitor, I don't know. It's a big one though. It's the size of my monitor is big. Carapace sledge. We can make this as well. It's called paralysis. Anjaneth hammer. Damn, that looks pretty sick. Whoa, I can make this? Magda flow. I can make this. Look at that. That looks super sick. What's blast? Is it because I'm going to have a blast with this thing? Wait, so it does 832. This is such a powerful weapon, dude. Holy shit, let's craft this. All I need is a dragon bone hammer. So we need to forge a dragon bone hammer. We can do that. Okay, so to build the dragon bone basher, we need warped bone, coral bone, and ancient bone. So let's go for a couple of hunts in these old areas and get those materials, and then we're gonna forge these nuts. Hey, what's up, Talon? Are you playing Tekken 8 or mainly talking about why it's trash like everybody else? Paralysis hammer is fun, really? Okay, I'm just gonna go for big damage because I think it's like it's probably the niche of the hammer to do big boom boom hits. Neither and both? Okay. I'll say this. There's one interesting good thing happening with Tekken content creation right now. And its name is Mike Hollow. I don't know if you've been jumping on these podcasts he's doing lately where he like brings people on and discusses the game or whatever, but I've been on a couple. He usually lets me jump in. Because, you know, I have a bit of a profile in this community, I guess. But he needs to iron out the kinks in terms of he has a lot of people on at the same time. And it's, like, difficult to moderate. And then another thing is that the discussions really very quickly devolve into people shitting on Dragunov. Which makes sense, you know. They probably should devolve to that. But, you know, it's difficult to talk about other things. But it's great, and I know he's not like mainly a Tekken player. You know, he talks about plays like Dragon Ball and Arena Fighters mainly, but it is cool that there is some sort of on YouTube community gathering hub happening. He's actually gaining subscribers right now. I saw, whereas I think you know, most of us who have left Tekken behind a little bit more. Aren't exactly in the expanding phase of our Tekken content creation right now. So I find him really interesting, and I want to encourage him to keep doing what he's doing. Check him out if you haven't already. Okay, so we want bones. That's mining. That's mining. That's bones. Let's go get these bones. What do you think of light bowgun? My girlfriend watched me play Monster Hunter and thought it looked fun. She wanted something to play. And then her cousin is a long time, like, huge Monster Hunter fan and like plays it obsessively all the time. So we got her world as well, and she mains the light bowgun. And she's pretty good with it. So I like the light bowgun, but I probably won't play it myself because I'm usually going to be co-oping with her when I play co-op, and she already has the light bowgun. So, but it's like it's great because if I'm bonking, she can be in the back, pew pewing, and it's just like good synergy. Those are bones, right? Bone pile. Let's head for this bone pile. Yeah. I think you've got to be careful though, Mike, because he seems to invite debate and differences of opinion, which is good because then you're able to have meaningful conversations, but it also gets you caught up in the chaotic unintelligence of other people, and you might get roped into some shit. And my advice would be, I've stayed away from controversy almost as much as I can because I'm just not interested in it, and it's a waste of my time. The only like hot takes or controversies like in terms of my content has been me feeling that I almost have to shit on Namco, or when I do it, I try and do it in like a fun way where I'm mainly laughing at them, right? But a lot of people, if you like invite people to like debate you about Tekken on the internet, you're gonna end up with a lot of people who are acoustic and recorded, and it's gonna be difficult to stay sane, and people are gonna tweet shit, and then you got to deal with that whole can of worms. I think one of the best moves I ever made as a content creator was not ever getting a Twitter or having a Twitter. I think that was definitely the right call, because every time people talk about Twitter and about what a like fucking nightmare it is, I've never even heard of it, because I'm not on there. And then if something happens on Twitter that I probably want to know, somebody will just like put it in my YouTube comments. Hey, Frame, did you see Harada's tweet? No? Let me check it out. It's perfect. It's a perfect symbiosis between you and me. You tell me shit and I don't have to have Twitter. I've been calling the game a mess since the day it came out, and how I don't like it. I'm tired of people gaslighting and say it's good because the system works for their playstyle. That's such a good point, Talon. I actually went back and I didn't go back and like watch my own old content, but I got a comment on an old video, and I'm like, what did I say in this video? And it was me watching some of the first gameplay previews ever of T8. Honestly, we should go and watch that video, because I don't mean to do this, toot my own horn and like, masturbate in your faces, but I was like, okay, this is what could go wrong with this game, and this is what I think would happen, and well, I'll let you guys judge if I was on the money or not. But it's not like I'm some sort of, prophet. I mean, Talon is a really good player, and he says he knew from the get-go that there were going to be problems, and then you have the pro players with their tweets, but usually they are about as excited about the game as their excitement about the game is proportional to their professional success in it. So Arslan loses, the game is trash. Arslan wins, the game is fantastic, and he gets it now. Thank you, Harada. Let me get one of those Jin tattoos on my butt cheeks. But you need to like... toxic positivity is a huge ongoing issue with the video games industry right now. Toxic positivity mixed in with access journalism. So if you want to grow as a content creator, unless you can do it based entirely on your personality, which is really hard for people. Eris can do it. because he is the way he is. But being naturally entertaining and funny like that is probably a rare quality in people. And if you don't have that, then your ticket to any sort of success as a content creator rides a lot on you getting exclusive access and things like that. And now to be able to get any kind of access early to whether it's beta tests or review copies or being invited to events and things like this, you need to be unnaturally and inauthentically enthusiastic. So a good example of that is Fextra Life. Fextra Life is this site where they get a lot of shit because I think they do video embedding on their website, which means that anytime anybody checks Fextra Life for information, their live streams get viewers, and people who stream on Twitch think that's unfair because it inflates their viewer numbers as opposed to people who organically gain all those viewers. I get the argument, but I always thought when I was playing Elden Ring and I wanted to know like some information about a weapon, same with Lies of P, I found the site easy to use and really quite informative, and very rarely did I find information that was straight up wrong on there. Anyway, they got early access to Veilguard, and they made a video where they talked about, I am a little bit concerned about this game but still hopeful. I think it has some issues, but I still want to play when it comes out. I mean, that kind of a really, really mild, and I'm going to use a word that I don't like right now. It's one of those fucking content creator words that doesn't mean anything anymore. But that sort of a take. And then when the review copies for... hey, thanks, Jay the Guy. Thanks for liking my new hammer. The review copies for Veilguard came out. Fextra Life didn't get one. It's probably because they said they were like slightly cautious but hopeful about Veilguard, which isn't okay. You either call it a return to form and you praise its progressive nature and storytelling, even though the storytelling and writing seems to be the entire major issue with the game. It is, and I've seen the dialogue in this game. The game simply is not well written. As somebody who used to write a lot and has written stories in the past, I obviously didn't, become a professional writer, probably for a lack of talent, but I could write. I could shove a pencil in my butthole, which I do sometimes, and, randomly stab at the wall and write something better than the dialogue in Veilguard. It's one of the most poorly written for spoken writing, exactly. So I've been listening to some of this dialogue, and it seems not only is it like grating and immersion breaking in terms of its writing, it's also tropey. So essentially you can listen to entire dialogues in some of these games, and it comes down to one single trope, which is crazy. And if you guys haven't noticed it, I'm going to tell you what it is right now, and you're not going to be able to listen to any of this dialogue again, because you'll be like, they're just doing the same thing over and over. What they do is something that should be dramatic or alarming or a big deal, in universe for the game, is talked about in a casual sense using modern lingo to deflate any sort of tension that could exist in the conversation around that topic. So the typical piece of dialogue that you hear is, well, jumped through a dimensional portal, slew an evil god, ate donuts. It's a normal. It's a Tuesday. That kind of dialogue. And I was listening to Veilguard dialogue on YouTube, and it was that 5 times in a row, and then a new scene, and then it was that 5 times in a row. It's all they do. Well, sometimes I like to slay dragons with my giant sword, but do you want to have muffins? And I'm like, holy shit, is this all you know how to do? It's that, or it's scenes of people botanizing and talking about or explaining their personal identity in terms of sexuality, trauma, things like that, right? And the reason people don't want to listen to that sort of dialogue might not be, I mean, some people might be like, I don't, like transsexuals, so I don't want people to be transsexual in the video game. But I don't think that's the case for the vast majority of people. I think what it really is when people start talking about themselves really dramatically when you didn't ask, it's pretentious and really fucking difficult to listen to. It doesn't matter what you're like. If I meet you and I go, that's going to be clipped out of context, fuck it, The context is still going to be here, so whatever, right? But do you know what I mean? Like, if you meet me in the real world and I start going, so here's the thing about me, these are the kinds of people that I like to have sex with, here's how I feel about my own body, and here's how difficult it is for me to be me. What you need to realize is that you're talking to a person, I mean almost by definition, who has gone through serious fucking shit and who is fighting for their life every single fucking day, because that's just being human. And if you want to have a conversation with them that is going to be amicable and mutual, what you can't do is dramatically describe yourself constantly, especially not private parts of your lives that we might not be interested in and that might not be appropriate topics of conversation, such as, here's how I feel about my cock. Vegans telling you they're vegans. Exactly. I think the reason people hate vegans isn't that they have some sort of, I mean, again, for some people it might be a political issue, but it's just a waste of my time to sit here and listen to you say, here's what I like to eat and here is why I think it is. The other thing is obviously that it becomes pretentious because it becomes lecturing. So here are the reasons I am morally superior for liking to eat the things that I like to eat. And God forbid it gets to the point where here's why you should, not eat the things that you like to eat. I think that's really the whole thing. So if people who were disenfranchised socially and who wanted to be progressive about those issues didn't tend to be so fucking insufferable, I think they would have made a lot more progress by now. I don't think anybody, for example, is going to question, if you live in a functioning democracy, you have the right to demonstrate and to organize movements and actually try and do things. But crying like a wounded bitch on social media is just not helpful for anybody. And then trying to take these entertainment products, if they're shows or movies or video games, and using them as a platform for the same kind of shrill fucking whining, you're just going to polarize people against you. And I tend to never talk about these issues because, as you guys know, I say this all the time, I'm simply not interested, and it's a waste of my fucking time when people come to me with political issues. But we are, in a way, talking about what's going on in the video game industry right now, whether it's Tekken or Veilguard or whatever, right? But if you quickly want to know, my views on stuff like this, I cannot imagine how fucking painful it must be to feel constantly wrong about the way you are on a fundamental level. It must be extremely traumatic, and I have nothing but sympathy for it. But that doesn't mean I have to like fucking dog shit ass writing in fucking Veilguard. And I also don't think, Talon, that I'm going to get clipped out of context because, fortunately for me as a content creator, and I'm very excited about this, I am not relevant or famous enough that there's any point to clipping me. You can't go, this is Frame's shitty take on Veilguard, because nobody's going to click that video. Forget that the game is a form of escapism from reality. Yeah, exactly. There's that, but then it's also like immersion is a very, very frail and delicate thing. And when you are, if you're creating a film or a game, it's difficult, and it's an art form to create a sense of immersion, to capture somebody and make them focus and enter this flow state where they feel like they are in a different world. And when your storytelling is built entirely around, like I said earlier, the trope is, if the trope is talking about epic and dramatic things and constantly deflating them, if that is the trope in the writing, well, you know, it's Tuesday, I just killed some dragons because I'm fucking awesome, you know, want to see my top surgery scars. When the writing is built around deflating any kind of immersion, and you inject it with language that is inappropriate for the type of world or time period that you're trying to create, immersion becomes impossible to maintain for even a single second. And you know, go back and read Dune right now, and when you know, fucking Paul Atreides is talking to or the God Emperor Leto II is talking to a Duncan Idaho clone in his throne room about this existential dread that Duncan Idaho experiences when he realizes that he is a clone of a clone of a clone of a clone, and maybe like the 100th or something iteration of the same person, who's just trapped in this cycle because the God Emperor wants to keep him around for companionship, and one of them suddenly goes, well, you know, I turned into a giant worm, and it's all fucking good, and you know, here's how I feel about titties. Then you would probably put the book down. Frank Herbert didn't do that when he wrote Dune, and it is one of the reasons it's one of the most immersive, evocative, and important pieces of science fiction literature in history. As a queer man myself, I'm more forgiving of try-hard writing, because sometimes the acknowledgement of my existence in fiction means a lot. I completely get that, you know. Feeling seen and feeling heard and appreciated and acknowledged is like a huge deal for all humans, especially if you're a part of some sort of minority. I mean, I can only imagine. Obviously, people who are more caustically passionate about this sort of topic than you, Uncle Hyena, will say that as a straight white male, I don't even have the right to express an opinion on these issues. 3,500 years later, it's whatever, bro. Exactly, dude. Exactly. But here's the thing, like, and this isn't the argument like, oh, some of my best friends are gay, so I get to, you know, have opinions about gay people. I genuinely try and have for a long time, like genuinely, consciously been careful to treat everybody I meet in life as an individual, and to only build my opinion of them on their personal merits and how they treat me and how I find being around them. So do you know what I mean? I'm a straight up ally, but that doesn't mean I have to like your cock cheese covered fucking shit ass writing. And I definitely believe that you could make awesome video games that talk about or address queerness, or have neurodivergent characters and all the rest of it. And if your writing is good and you're actually handling that topic in a respectful and good way, but you're also backing it up with actual writing, you know, it's actual fucking writing, then all of a sudden I think people are going to start thinking about these issues while they are consuming your product. But it's not because you are using the product as a lecturing platform. It's because you have evocative storytelling, you know? So, one of my favorite books of all time, I think one of the greatest pieces of American literature ever written, and a lot of people agree with that. You know, it's acknowledged as one of the great American masterpieces, is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. And most of Cormac McCarthy's books deal with violence. He writes a lot about violence and what violence does to people, and the nature of violence as an inalienable part of human nature. So No Country for Old Men, that's one of his stories. Blood Meridian is the same, right? So I read those books and I have all of these ideas and feelings, and I'm so invested in this story, and it changes the way I see certain things. But if I opened up a Cormac McCarthy book and it said, hey man, you can't just kill people, that's not cool, I wouldn't be like, damn, I learned something here. You know what I mean? Anyway, have I talked about Wilds yet? Let's talk about Wilds right now, Virtua Fusion. I do want to make a specific video talking about my thoughts on Wilds, because I mean, we talked about toxic positivity today. So I want you to know that I'm very, very cautious about being unnecessarily positive. There were 8 people talking over you. Yeah, we just talked about that. Mike, I think he makes amazing content, but he needs to, I think, try and organize those discussions a little bit more, with a little bit more structure. But I think it's really, really cool, this idea that you have an ongoing Tekken podcast and different community members can like jump in and talk and discuss. And not only do I think that's useful for the Tekken community, it's also like really fun to be on. I mean, I remember Wave Dash. That was such a fucking good time. I was really excited when we were going to sit down and record another Wave Dash, dude. We had a blast. I always loved it. Anyway, so with Wilds, and I'm going to make a different video about this, but I was blown away by it. I don't think I've ever seen a new or updated version of a video game that so successfully iterates on its gameplay, like almost ever. So World, people love World. World has like 60 or 80,000 concurrent players now, and World came out, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. So people love World. World is an acclaimed, beloved game, but in Wilds, they've taken everything that you might find abrasive and difficult to love about World, and in my opinion, basically, as far as I can tell, fixed them all, which is crazy. Like, I am blown away by the sheer volume of quality of life improvements that they brought to the game. And then I also tried every single weapon and eventually ended up slaying multiple monsters with every single weapon in the game. There is not a single weapon or character class or character in this game that wasn't better or more fun, more high quality in terms of its gameplay design, um, and and fun to use. I enjoyed playing every single weapon in Wilds. Every single weapon was really fun to use. Like, if you tell me, hey, I'm a light bowgun main in Wilds, I would be like, oh, cool, that's so awesome, that's a great weapon. And then somebody goes, I'm going to play Insect Glaive, and I'm going to be, that's awesome, maybe I should play Insect Glaive. And then somebody else is going to be like, you know, the great sword is memes, you know, the great sword and the long sword are the sort of Kazuya and Jin of this franchise. They're by far the most popular, and by far the most memed on weapons. But I tried longsword and greatsword, and they're fucking awesome. I can't even hate on it, dude. So and then I thought the world, it's less saturated and it's got a more realistic art style and vibe to it, which it feels less Final Fantasy in terms of its art style in this, but I think it works. The world was immersive. The monsters' behavior seemed... the monster behavior was honestly impressive. I saw some... I mean, they've definitely improved the, so to speak, AI of the creatures in the game. Some of the monster battles that happen around you were just insane. So it's like the fun factor. I mean, when the beta ended, I was genuinely sad. Like, I'm like, oh my god, I don't get to go home and play Wilds right now. And I was so excited to play more Wilds. So the fun factor is huge. The overall quality, as far as I can tell, is huge. The one downside, there are two things that I will criticize it for. One is minor, one is major. The minor one is, I felt that because in World, right, there are 3 big monsters per area. In Wilds, you are traveling a giant expanse, and there are all kinds of wild monsters moving around everywhere. But sometimes they travel in packs, and they like bump into one another, which is good. You want territorial battles and multiple monsters at the same time in Monster Hunter. That's cool. That's part of the game. But sometimes the frequency of and just sheer volume of monsters that show up when you're trying to hunt one monster made it kind of difficult to continue the fight that you were in. It's almost like you got interrupted, and now all this stuff is exploding all around you, and it's difficult to continue with what you actually wanted to do here. That's one thing. The other thing, and the one that I think is a major issue with Wilds, and it's obviously the most talked about thing, is the fact that it has really high system requirements and it's got performance issues. Now, that's a good problem to have when you're in beta, because it means that it's exactly the sort of thing that they want to improve on and can improve on in the time frame that they have left. And I really hope they do. But the saddest possible consequence of that would be that Wilds ends up having a smaller community and fewer people get to enjoy it because they simply don't have the hardware to. One mitigating factor that I think is going to improve that situation massively is the fact that the game is cross-play now, which is also just such a massive fucking improvement. It's fantastic. And so if you're not able to afford a high-end PC to play Wilds on, maybe you already own or could consider getting a PlayStation 5 to play it instead. And I think that Wilds, my prediction is that Wilds is going to be good enough, popular enough, that it's the kind of game where you might buy a console specifically to play the game. I mean, if you're a Monster Hunter fan, I think that makes sense. And I'm obviously aware that PlayStation 5 is also very expensive to purchase and not something that everybody has the ability pie. Hammer has some issues in Wilds. Hey, what are the... I'm considering maining the Hammer, Devil's Hyena. That's why I'm playing it right now. So could you describe to me what you think are the Hammer issues in Wilds? I'd love to know. Oh, what a whiff. I'm trying to get poison on him. Damn. Ate the headbutt. Poop slingers don't work that well. Yeah, but it's also like, you might not have poop. You might, like, be engaged in a really, really tough battle and you're like, you know, just about to kill this monster, and then there's this giant interruption that happens. So while I think the territorial battles are extremely immersive and good, they can also sometimes feel intrusive and like interruptions. Oh yeah, he can turn. I always forget about the turn with that move because it looks so stupid. The hammer's changed much? I wouldn't know because this is my first Monster Hunter game, but I can tell you that compared to this game, I think the hammer has improved massively. The changes are kind of minor, but they're just like... It's just going to be a better time. Oh, that felt amazing. The hammer feels amazing when you crack them in the head and you get these massive hits. You just bonk the heads. Well, there's a little bit more to it. In the you have some new combos, but in Wilds you also have this thing called the charge step, which is you can run while charging the hammer like this, and then you can fire your hook shot into the ground far away from you, and instantly or really quickly dash there because you pull yourself along. You retain the charge level that you had before, and the option also has iframes. So the reason that's so awesome is I can run around charging my hammer, and there's a big attack incoming. I can iframe with this massive dodge that I have now, and then let go of the charge attack. So there's like some skill expression there, definitely. How do I become a member? I don't know. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Do you mean on my YouTube channel? Thank you so much for considering it. I'm sure somebody in the chat knows and can tell you. But definitely don't feel pressure to become a paying member. I'm gonna put power charge on right here. You cancel it with a roll. I've learned that. It's gonna turn now, right? Oh, okay, he didn't turn that time. Ooh. The deliciousness. Let's go for a Big Bang. What do you guys think? I haven't done Big Bang yet on this in this fight. No, it's too late. He's up. Let's just roll cancel. Oh wait, somebody donated earlier and I forgot to thank them. I hope you're still here. Wait a minute. Let me check. Besserda, 4 minutes ago. Thank you so much for subscribing, dude. Thank you very, very much. I'm glad you're enjoying the content and either the talking or the Monster Hunter. Gunlands in Rise is crazy. Gunlands in Wilds is crazy. I wanted to main the Gunlance initially, but I've honestly gradually started falling out of love with it a little bit. In concept and just like aesthetically, it's so ridiculous and delicious. But they've built the Gunlance in Wilds to be a high damage combo weapon. So you have these really, really long combos that do insane damage, but they lock you in terms of your angle. So if the monster is moving, you stand around whiffing, and they also lock you into really long animations. However, I will say that if you get better at the guarding aspects, the power clashes, the guard points of the gun lance, and then you save those really big combos for when you have a big opening, I think that's going to be the effective way to play it. But the other thing is that when I played gun lance in wilds, I noticed that the monsters were dying in like half the time of the other weapons. I think the damage output is potentially going to end up being really crazy for this weapon, right? So if you're good at playing patiently and then actually hitting with those combos where you get like 2 full bursts, 2 wyvern fires, and 2 worm stake cannons in the same combo, then I mean, honestly, who knows? It might end up being a speedrunning weapon. It's crazy the damage that it does. So I have a lot of respect for the gun lance, and I probably will end up playing it. But for those of you who are Monster Hunter players, I want to ask you something, because right now I'm pretty sure that I've locked in hammer as my main weapon for wilds, although, you know, that might obviously change. Thing is, the hammer is unable to do any sort of cutting damage, which means that I can't cut tails, and I can't do, you know, any of the things that cutting damage is good for. And so for my secondary weapon, I think, because it's going to be about you bringing a kit that is, you know, greater than the sum of its parts. I want it to be an effective cutting weapon, and I haven't chosen that weapon yet. Right now, I think I might go Sword and Shield, because I think Sword and Shield is going to be extremely high skill ceiling, quite complex, has a much larger move list than the hammer, and it's also, I think it's going to be ridiculously fun and effective. But I don't know yet if it's going to be the Sword and Shield or something else. So let me know what you guys think. I should go for a cutting secondary weapon. Damn, what an amateur. Yeah, gun lance has cutting damage. That's very true. I've cut a lot of tails with gun lance in this game. Bonk. Try and get poison on him. I think he's injured, that's why he's not rolling well anymore. Injured his leg right there. Yeah, it's a terrain weapon, but here's the thing about the Sword and Shield. You have really, really fast combos and movement. You've got cutting damage. You've got concussive damage. You've got, I think you're probably the best aerial weapon in the game. So you're actually better at mounting now than the Insect Glaive. You have high damage combos like the Perfect Rush, and you're better at working with the environment than almost any other weapon. So it kind of specializes in everything. I don't know how they're going to balance it. I mean, presumably they have to give it like less damage or something, because right now it just seems to be so extremely versatile. Hey, Uncle Hyena, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. Welcome and thank you. And if you want to play Wilds together, you know, it's a co-op game. So you guys, if you're interested in getting the game, I'll be playing it a lot. And Be sick to do some team play. I'll take the head. You guys can injure the butthole, and we'll be a great team. And you can use items without sheathing. Yeah, that's another really unique thing that only Sword and Shield has. I mean, it's the best at everything. I don't know how this isn't going to be like the most broken weapon in this game. Probably because some other weapons are just going to have such ridiculous damage output that you go to them. Did you try a Hunting Horn? Oh, hell yeah. Hunting Horn is one of my better weapons in World right now. I'm not entirely sold on the Wilds incarnation of the Horn yet, but I think that's mainly because I haven't spent enough time with it. Echo Bubbles are cool, but I think I might prefer the way Encores work in this game. Because in this game you can do like longer songs, and then you can do these Encores that do multiple massive hits, which is one of the few ways you can deal like consistent big damage with the Hunting Horn. Whereas now you can only encore once no matter what song you play, and that's gonna mean a lot more. You're gonna deal a lot of your damage incrementally using Echo Bubbles with the Horn in the new one. I also didn't like the design of the big saxophone. I mean, it's a fun idea, but I don't know. SNS is lower range. Yeah, that's definitely true. Probably the lowest range weapon, except for maybe dual blades. Dual blades are crazy in the new game, by the way. The Captain Levi attack. I wonder if you're ever gonna get tired of it. Another weapon that I'm considering and maining in Wilds might sound surprising, but it's actually the Lance. I am very, very impressed with the Lance in Wilds. I think it's super sick. Dual blades, yeah. Yeah, Lance I think deserves to be respected. I'm just worried that the damage output is going to end up being quite low for it, but I think if you play it well, it might not be. But just the fact that you have that new triple combo, so the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that makes it feel like you have more agency over your damage output. And it's also easier to stagger monsters because you're doing like more powerful hits as opposed to a lot of blocking and countering. So it just makes the entire weapon a lot more fun to use. Demon mode, yeah. The cool thing about the dual blades, though, the one thing that I really love about dual blades in the new game is the just frame dodge, because that is not only high skill, it also feels amazing. So if you didn't know this, what happens with the dual blades in and it's your only real like defensive option with the dual blades in the game, right? If you the damage, he died. Oh my god, 236. The hammer is sick. I love this. We got him. A monster attacks you and you dodge at the perfect time, kind of like a perfect parry, and you get a just frame dodge where your character does like a massive dodge and pulls out the swords, and then for a while, every time you dodge while spinning your weapons around you, so you can It's a hammer. Yeah, I know, Josie. It doesn't look like it, but it's a poison hammer. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's really cool. Um, um, yeah, so you're fighting and slicing people with the blades constantly, right? Oh, sorry, guys. I just got a phone call. I got to take this. I'll be right back.
大丈夫ですか？
Um, I'm no, I know you can hear me now, right? I'm really sorry. It was my mother. There's stuff going on with that as well. My grandfather is very sick, and the hospital and the pharmacies they aren't taking proper care of him, and they are extremely disorganized, and nothing is really making sense. And my poor mother is kind of unfortunately left alone to deal with those things. So it's almost like any public service or social service in Sweden now is completely unraveled to the point where like you can't find a place to live. You risk being murdered or assaulted in your own home. If you need medical attention, it's extremely difficult to find or get access to. And I think it's just because the entire system is so overloaded, with people constantly clamoring for the same services, right? I've had, I don't know if I told you guys this, but at the hotel, it's a long time ago now, and I'm obviously going to be vague about it because I don't want to talk about our guests or do anything unprofessional. But we had a guest who, an older gentleman, quite old, walked with a cane, staying with us, and he went outside to have a smoke, and when he was going back in, he fell backwards and he slammed his head in the pavement really bad, like to the point where he had a giant gash in his head that was bleeding profusely, and he also hurt his spine, his back, really bad. So I ran out and with like a big linen napkin, and I was applying pressure to the wound. I managed to get a chair from the terrace of the hotel restaurant and drag him into that so he was sitting. And then I was just standing there holding this man's wound, trying to talk to him while some other really nice people came up and they helped us call an ambulance. And then we call the equivalent of 911 and ask for an ambulance because it's really bad, and they just said we can't come, there are no ambulances. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, right, like you have a medical emergency, an old man who's like really badly injured, and they're like, we don't have any cars, there's nobody. So they were like, we're going to try and send someone as soon as possible, so just hang tight. And I waited with this man for over 45 minutes. And I'm calling for an ambulance because somebody is bleeding from a massive gash in their head. And they didn't show up for 45 minutes. And I called them back, and I'm like, what is happening? I'm alone here, help me. And they were like, well, there's still no cars available, we'll try to get there as soon as we can. So eventually I had to get the bartender. Fortunately, this awesome girl who works the bar was like, I'll take him. And I had to call a cab, and I had to send this grievously injured old man to the emergency room in a taxi. And it made me realize that, say something happens to me or my girlfriend while we're at home, and we need, like, what if one of us isn't breathing, if we can't get an ambulance in an hour, that's guaranteed like death. So I have to have like a backup plan now for what's going to happen if there's a medical emergency in my family, because you can't trust the public services to help you in any way. They're just useless because they're so overwhelmed. It was the exact same story when we were fighting to get a visa for my girlfriend so she could live in this country. It took years. The waiting list was 18 months just to have somebody look at your case. And we eventually got somebody to look at our case. They approved her visa in 2 weeks. But everybody's just so overwhelmed, and all of these social systems are just completely unraveling right now. It is, I mean, it's so frightening. So, have I ever considered moving away from here, RCQ? Yes. I mean, I love my job right now. I have a career, and I'm having a really good time for the most part living here with my girlfriend, right? But I know for a fact that unless some really, really big things change about this society, this is not where I want to grow old. No fucking way. And I think by the time we're getting on a bit, getting older, I think we're going to go back to Japan, because while the economy of Japan is trash, while I might have to run into Johnny Somali on the street and you know, try and keep myself from knocking him the fuck out, it is a very, very safe, secure, and just overall nice and calm place to be. If you have no one, you're screwed. Exactly. Like, what are you gonna do if you fall down the stairs? I fell down the stairs a couple of weeks ago. I still have bruises and injuries on my back that fell down the staircase. And the corner of one of the steps, they're really sharp, stabbed into my butt cheek, and I had like a big bleeding wound and stuff. Fortunately, I didn't, you know, it was only bruises. But like, what if I banged my head? Like, what are you gonna do? Call 911 and they go, yeah, we'll be there in an hour, maybe. That's a big bang. Dude, I'm stun locking him almost. Oh no. It's gonna be a double battle. You can find what you enjoy in many places. Thanks, man. I think as long as we have each other and as long as we can stay safe, you know, we could live anywhere. I had a teacher when I was in Japan, when had been there for only a while, and it was kind of vicious because the other teachers would like gossip and spread rumors about her. Like, one of my grammar teachers came up to me and said, oh, you know that teacher, she's in a sexless marriage. I was like, okay, why are you telling me this? Why are you telling anybody that if you have that information, you know? But this this sensei, really nice, really pretty, and we would go out sometimes and like hang with our teachers because, you know, they were 25-ish, we were 25-ish, you know, and we saw each other every day. So we would like sometimes go out and eat and have drinks and stuff. And we're sitting late night in an izakaya one time, and I was talking to this one teacher who everybody else would like gossip about being in an unhappy marriage or whatever. And we got on to talking about relationships and love or whatever. And there was no indication from her that she had considered ever, you know, leaving her husband or anything like that. So I asked her a question. I remember this clearly because it took me off guard, her answer. But I was like, so to you, what is a marriage and what does it mean? And she said, it means that no matter what happens. Do you know if the old man survived? Yeah, he survived. He survived. He's okay. He came back the next day. She said that no matter what happens in life, no matter what happens in the world, there's a place where I belong. There's always somewhere I can come home to. That's what it means to, be with someone. And I was like, damn. So yeah, maybe people are spreading rumors about them having and why do they know, a bad sex life or whatever. But yeah, I really respected her for that. I was like, damn, that makes sense. We need like one more bone pile and we're gonna actually be able to like make this hammer soon. This is so sick. Or maybe we already have enough. We'll kill this raptor and then we'll cancel the expedition. Where I belong or where I'll be welcome. I think what she said was Kaete koreru basho ga aru, which means a place to come home to. Or maybe she used the word ibasho, which is a place where I belong. So yeah, I don't exactly remember the Japanese words she used, but one of those. Let's try and get this on the head. So we gotta whiff the first hit. Oh no, I accidentally did the spinning. You have to let go of directional inputs to get this attack, which is what I wanted. He regenerate his head thing? I didn't know he could do that. Didn't know they could regenerate at all. I'm gonna start using this uppercut more. I think it's potentially really useful because it's so fast. Got him. Alright, let's see if we can actually go make this hammer now. It looked super sick. Hey, can any of the Monster Hunter veterans in the chat, would you like to explain to me what blast is? It looks like some sort of elemental damage, but what does blast do? Sometimes people lie to themselves. That's very true. You know. That's very true.
大丈夫ですか?
My reaction in the moment was that I was impressed by it, but, you know, I don't know. The idea of choosing to stand by somebody even when things aren't necessarily going perfectly, I think is really, really good, really, really useful. Now we just need to get some money, because I don't think we have enough money to make the new equipment that I want. So let's see if there's some sort of mission that will award us some decent cash. I'm gonna start by having a meal, and then... What's a devil hyo? There are elemental and status damage. Blast is a status type. Okay. So what happens when you build up enough blast? They blow up sometimes? So it's like a status condition, but instead of triggering like poison, it triggers them to explode. That's going to be extremely satisfying to have on a hammer. If you do one of those massive hits and they also explode. It's like bleed? Yeah. Yeah, I understand status damage. I didn't know if blast was an elemental thing or a status thing though. Okay, cool. Great. Thanks for the info. Aibo. What do you have for me? I can kill a pink Rathian and get 12,000, or another pink Rathian and get 12,000. Normal Rathian for 9k. Let's hunt one of these Bareth guys. I kind of like him. I haven't fought one in a while. It's just nicer to fight a non-flying monster as well. A lot of damage in one go. Oh, so it is really comparable to bleed. That's interesting. So you build up a status and then the explosion deals massive damage. Well, the base damage of that hammer was really high. So if I get that plus occasional like massive hits, I think that might be conducive to some really interesting gameplay. Fixed damage, okay. Is that fixed damage still competitive late game? Because that's what you need to be careful with fixed damage in games like this. If it seems really high now, it might end up not being really high once you get to a certain point in the game, if you can't level it up or it doesn't scale. You want things that scale properly late game, because then you can make these multiplicative builds, right? Whether it's this or Diablo or whatever. I'm gonna make the hammer anyway because it looks cool, you know? And it's something to do on stream. A goal, you know? I gotta thank you guys, by the way. I actually have like a bunch of viewers on the stream right now. I'm so glad that people are deciding to show up for Monster Hunter and not just Tekken. Really, really exciting, and you know, I am super excited about Wild. So if you enjoy Monster Hunter, then I think it's going to be a lot of fun to be had here in the next year. I'm going to try and get the head because I have a hammer. I think that makes sense, right? And now we're going to do the spinning bludgeon because it's multiple hits, so it's easier to proc poison with. And we want to get him poisoned, right? I think we got it already. See? Damn. Maybe I'm getting good at this game. #1 source for book recommendations. Hey, thanks, man. It's really exciting when you find like a seriously good book. Do you guys want to know what I'm reading right now? I am reading a book that I had as a kid. and I don't think I finished it, and I didn't really understand it. But then I got it as a gift from my sister, so I started reading it again. It's The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov, and Russian author, which means it's going to be sick, because Russians, I think, are the uncontested masters of the novel. They're just better at it than everybody else. But you read the back of the book for The Master and Margarita, and it's just like instantly, I think maybe it falls into the realm of magical realism, but it's just a really interesting premise. So it's like a really, really hot summer in Russia, and I think it's set in the late 1800s or early 1900s, and during this really hot summer where all these things are going on around the city, the devil comes to town, and he's traveling along with two demons who like walk around with him and flank him as he walks around. The one demon is like a dancer, and the other is a large black cat who walks on its hind legs, and they sort of walk around in, I don't know if it's Moscow or St. Petersburg. I think it's St. Petersburg. No, Crime and Punishment is St. Petersburg, but The Master and Margarita is Moscow, I think. So he walks around Moscow, and he's this very charming, very intelligent, very intimidating person, and because he's the devil, his influence is very corrosive, and he like corrupts people and sets these things in motion. It's really interesting. Read it in Russian, it was kind of disappointing. You feel it's unfinished? Okay, well that's sad. Well, I haven't finished it yet. I'll see what I think once I'm done with it. But I'm reading that, just a paperback, and then at the same time I'm reading or listening to the audiobook of Crime and Punishment. So I'm in Russia twice right now. And then when I want something lighter, I read Woodhouse, Jeeves and Wooster. I have a couple of those books, and when you want something just like fun, I like to read Woodhouse. What else do I want to read right now? What else am I? There's one more book. Damn, I'm getting my ass kicked by this dinosaur. Let's have my cat come in with the rescue. You can roll cancel mid-slide. That's kind of sick. Guess we gotta whiff the first and hit with the second. Oh, I did a spinning bludgeon again. Sorry, you guys. Didn't even finish the combo. You never read books? Well, here's the thing. I think most people of my generation and younger don't really read books, and I didn't really read books. I was one of those where I thought it was very, very difficult to focus for such long stretches of time, and it's just like it demands more of you as the consumer as compared to, for example, a TV show or a film where all you really need to do is sit down and look at it. And obviously younger people now don't really have the attention spans even for film. They want to watch shorter and shorter form content because of this inability to focus, which is, I mean, it's sad because I think it narrows the scope of what you're able to enjoy in terms of entertainment. But what happened with me and reading is that my mother is a big reader. She reads mainly like whodunit detective books, but she reads good stuff as well. She's just not interested in anything that has any fantastical elements. She wants complete realism in everything she reads, so like trying to get her to read Murakami is impossible. I tried to get her to read 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which she hated because, it's magical realism again, which is maybe my favorite genre. But she wanted me to read, and so when we used to have this old boat, and in the summers, because my dad is an old sailor, and my dad used to be a competitive sailboat racer, and he grew up on boats and, you know, on the sea. So we had this old, you know, it sounds like we owned a yacht or something. It was a big boat. We had two bedrooms, so to speak, a tiny, you know, gas-powered kitchen, a toilet where you had to flush by pumping it yourself. It definitely wasn't fancy, but we would go out to sea for weeks when I was a kid, and just stay on the boat, me and my parents and my sisters. And the bedroom in the back where me and my older sister stayed, there was a tape deck, so I could listen to tapes. And she got me Harry Potter 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban, on audio cassette, and so I would listen to that in the summers. And it's really cozy, you know, and it's really long. And I could just pick one of those tapes, and it would be like, oh, it's Christmas at Hogwarts, and all the kids are doing this and that. And it was just really cozy and really nice to listen to when we were out to sea, and I was bored, you know. And then when we got home, she was like, well, do you want to know the rest of the story? Do you want to know what happens to Harry Potter next? And I'm like, well, duh. So she got me the 4th book, but she got it hard copy in English. And she said, if you want to know what happens next in the story, you have to read this book, and you have to read it in English. So it was her trick to make me read and to make me learn English. And I think once I started reading books in English, that's really when my English took off and I became better at the language. And so I remember in the beginning, because the 4th book is like extremely thick, I would like, when I went to bed at night, I tried to read, and it took me honestly several attempts to get through the first page. I think in the beginning of that book, it's like a POV scene of a snake attacking an old man in some sort of mansion or whatever. And it was really hard to get through it. I would get tired, or I would get bored, but I would like come back to it and try it again and again. And then eventually, like, I got through the first few pages, and then I read a couple more pages, and eventually, and I think it took me a really long time, I read the entire thing. And then I was like, okay, well, people who read books, you hear about these really, really famous authors and how they're genius and how their work is really, really important and stuff like that. So what if I, like, you know, I guess I was kind of pretentious and vain, and I wanted to come across as somebody who was well read as a child. So I, you know, started trying to read Hemingway. I wanted to read F. Scott Fitzgerald. I wanted to read, well, you know, all kinds of like authors that you hear about that are supposed to be important, you know. And eventually I came across a couple of books where it was like, man, I get why this is famous. Like, this right here is so fucking, like, well put and well written. Like, this is not something that anybody could do. And it's really evocative and interesting, and it's like, you know, changing how I see things. So then I started to really enjoy it. I remember two of those moments where I was like, damn, I might be really into those books. What are those books? The first one, RCQ, was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And the second one was Heart of Darkness by... Oh, have I forgotten the author's name? Wait. Heart of Darkness is by... that's embarrassing. Anyway, it was Heart of Darkness, and it was The Great Gatsby. And I remember one of the opening pages in Heart of Darkness, there's this scene where a man is standing on the Thames in London, and he's watching all of these boats that are departing the British Empire, and they are traveling all over the world, establishing, Conrad, it's by Joseph Conrad, exactly, and are establishing all these colonies all over the world, because this is set in the time of the British Empire, right? And he has this really, really evocative line where he describes these boats traveling down the Thames and into the world as the germs of empire, as if the British Empire is some sort of infection that is spreading all across the colonies. And I'm like, damn, I had to pause and like take a breath, because it was a really cool way to put it, right? So I really enjoyed Heart of Darkness. And if you've watched Apocalypse Now, the Marlon Brando film, Apocalypse Now is actually based on Heart of Darkness, and all they do, instead of having a British person going to Africa to find Curse, it's an American soldier who goes to Vietnam instead, but it's essentially the same story. So Apocalypse Now is a film based on Heart of Darkness. And then the other one, The Great Gatsby, I remember reading, I think, again, the introduction to the book, and I had to like stop, and because I was like genuinely moved by how good it was. There are a couple of good books that were like really formative and like changing the way I enjoy books. One was The Unbearable Likeness of Being, which a friend gave to me and said, I think you would enjoy this, and he was completely right. It changed my life, the way I see relationships. Reading that book might be one of the reasons my relationship to my current partner is going so well. And then there are a bunch of ones that I love that have really like been important to me, but the point that I'm really slowly trying to get to is I also didn't enjoy books or have the patience for books, and I would probably have been one of those people who doesn't ever read unless I like more or less forced myself to do it. And something that because when I was in my 20s I did a lot of meditation, and I wanted to get good at meditating, and I was really into Eastern spiritualism, right? And meditating was so hard. I'm really trash at this, because every second I get distracted, and I have to bring myself back to like focus, right? But then I was listening to this Duncan Trussell podcast, and he's this comedian podcaster who's like really into to that sort of stuff, and he was like, no, meditation is a skill. You have to work on it, and you suck at it in the beginning, and then you gradually get a little bit better. And I think reading is the same. Enjoying it is a skill, and if you never try and develop the skill, then you never gain it, kind of. I can't understand what people see in Great Gatsby. Well, looking back, out of all the books I mentioned right there, it's maybe my least favorite. But I don't think you can argue with his prose. I don't think you can argue with his talent as a writer. It might not be as evocative a story as some of the others. Have you read Mishima Yukio? No, I haven't. I haven't read that many Japanese authors. I have read Osamu Dazai, which probably the most dark and depressing book. It's the second most dark and depressing book I've ever read in my life. Number one being 1984, but it's close. I mean, No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai is one of the darkest and most horrible pieces of literature ever. And then I've read a lot of Murakami. I don't think Ishiguro Kazuo counts, because he's, British, basically, right? Okay, so I need one more coral bone, and then we can do this. You haven't read Dostoevsky? Dude, of course I fucking have. The master. I mean, maybe like the single most impressive single author in the history of fucking language. Dostoevsky is, I mean, I think I might have to call him like my personal goat is Cormac McCarthy. I love Cormac McCarthy, but if I had to pick like if I had to make an objective list, I think Dostoevsky might be the goat. But I still found 1984 and Ningen Shikaku, No Longer Human, more depressing than anything Dostoevsky wrote. With Dostoevsky, I was more immersed and I had more like of a personal, intimate relationship with the character, the main character, whereas, you know, the bigger picture is more depressing, I think, in like Orwell, right? Anyway, let's talk about why Tekken is trash. Somebody said, "Hey Frame, they fixed Tekken now for good. You get 500 Tekken bucks for free to buy costumes in the shop." Damn. Game saved. Guess I better reinstall. Herman Hesse, I've had him recommended to me by friends who are like, "You would love Herman Hesse. You would love him," and I never got around to him. He's easy to translate. That's cool. That's cool. There's a Swedish literature professor he's one of the people who decide who gets the Nobel Prize for literature. So he's like an academic of the Swedish language. And I think he learned how to speak fluent Russian just because he wanted to read Dostoevsky in the original Russian, which is like, you know, you've made it as an author when people learn a foreign language just to get, because they've already read your work, but just to get closer to your work, they want to learn a completely new language. That's pretty sick. But Cormac McCarthy moved to New Mexico and learned how to speak fluent Spanish just so that he could write Blood Meridian. I think he spent like 7 years in New Mexico living in the desert to write that book because he wanted it to be authentic, because basically half the book takes place in Mexico, right? Yeah, if you haven't read Blood Meridian, it is it's a masterpiece. It's wordy. I'll give you the premise if you haven't read it, okay? And then we're gonna leave books behind for now. But Blood Meridian is based on a true story, because what was happening in America at the time, because it's said in I don't remember the exact dates, but it's set in like essentially cowboy times. You watched the Vendigoon video on Blood Meridian. Yeah, he's cool. He's that horror guy, right? Who talks about Sasquatches. But back in those days, there was a bounty on the heads of Native Americans, because basically in the South, they were trying to exterminate the Native American population. And so you had these violent mercenary gangs who would travel around the countryside, the deserts, hunting humans for profit, and which is completely true. And one of those gangs was called the Glanton Gang. I think that's a completely like real group of people who existed. And what he does in the book is he creates this character of his own called the Kid, who's a young man who runs away from home, and he joins the Glanton Gang and then starts traveling with them as they gradually become more and more violent and kill more and more people and push the envelope of their evil and their depravity more and more. And the reason they are led down this extremely dark path, the Glanton gang, is because when they are traveling out in the desert and they're out of luck and basically about to die, this man known as the Judge appears to them. He's just sitting on a rock in the middle of the desert, and he helps them, and then he joins the gang and sort of becomes their de facto like advisor or leader. And he's a very, very intelligent and eloquent, gigantic albino. He's like 2 meters tall and extremely muscly, and he's clever, and he can draw, and he can paint, and he plays the violin beautifully, but he's this violent monster, and he kind of corrupts them and takes them down this dark path. So the common interpretation of who the Judge really is that he's the devil, and he's there to corrupt them. I had a different interpretation when I read the book. I thought he was more like the spirit of nature, because the book talks a lot about how, you know, the nature of creatures on this earth, how all of animal life and all of nature is one big war of things trying to dominate one another. And I saw him more as an incarnation of the spirit of evolution almost. But it's amazing. It's very dark though. Hey, Mokujinku, thank you so much, man. That's very, very kind. I'm glad you enjoy it. We need some more money, so we need to do one more quest, and then we can get the hammer. That's the goal for this stream. $9K for killing one of the bony boys? That's totally worth it. $9K. Hey, Hitokiri Singh, what's up, dude? Yeah, I'm sticking with this franchise. I played the beta, and I was blown away by it. I'm getting the boom hammer, exactly. The boom hammer, which is probably my favorite weapon in all of Bloodborne, by the way. I've done a lot of boom hammer builds. Yeah, I'm getting boom hammer in Monster Hunter. And I'm considering maining hammer for wilds based on my weapon testing in that game. I thought it was so much fun. There he is. He's gonna leave now, so we gotta hunt him. I forgot to eat. Do you guys think I'm good with it? Should we eat first? We probably should, right? Have you read The Myths Retold by Stephen Fry? I have read 2 of Stephen Fry's books. I've read 4 of Stephen Fry's books. I've read The Hippopotamus, The Fry Chronicles Volume 1 and 2. But then I have read Mythos, which is his book on the Greek myths. And then I've also read Troy, which is his book on, well, basically the Iliad, I guess. I haven't read his 3rd book on Greek mythology, which I think is called Heroes, but I'm always been a huge fan of Stevens. You know, I told you earlier that I read Woodhouse, and I'm a big fan of Jeeves and Wooster, which he, you know, obviously is a devotee of as well, and you know, he even played Jeeves in the show, and also. When I was living in the UK briefly, when I was like 20, I was having a rough time. You know, I was struggling with depression and stuff back then. And one of the things I did to get through the really rough patches back then was I would watch a lot of QI, which is like one of my favorite shows, and just loved it, you know. So I've seen every episode of QI probably multiple times. And he, you know, it is excellent to a large extent because of how excellent Steven is on it. I like Sandy too, though. I don't watch QI that much anymore. I hope it's still going, but you know, Sandy was a fine replacement. I always thought that it was going to be David Mitchell, when they had to replace Stephen Fry. But yeah, maybe Sandy is the better choice. David Mitchell is great when he's hosting, though. I love him on The Unbelievable Truth, which is his radio show. Let's try and get poison going here. Damn, I mean, cracking people with the hammer is chef's kiss. Isn't there like a spinning jump attack that you can do as well? This is my favorite battle theme in the game, by the way, so far at least. I think next time I slide, I'm going to be able to get a mount. Okay, so it's going to be like one more time, maybe. You went up and then rolled down the slope like I'm doing to him. This is an epic battle. Did it again. This time I was prepared. Mid-air spinning bludgeon. He's going to be able to knock me off here unless I'm very careful. I have no stamina left. Please let me get a finisher on the head. I thought maybe I was going to be able to stagger him before it hit. Survival / building games? Depends. Like, when you say survival game, immediately I think of Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Those games I kind of enjoy. I really like Resident Evil 4. I haven't played any of the really recent ones where you're in the castle with the vampire who has a fat ass. But if you mean like Valheim, oh, like Ark, Survival Evolved, and those things, I've never played any of them. I can see myself liking them though. I can see myself enjoying that sort of gameplay, yeah. But I don't think I've tried any of them, sorry. I mean, put it this way. I have been playing video games since I was like 4 or 5 years old, almost every day. But for the last 10 or so years, I've played almost nothing but Tekken. Obviously, occasionally dipping into Diablo 3, which I think is by far the best Diablo. Might be heresy. But I love Diablo 3, and then sometimes, I played a lot of World of Warcraft for a long time. But those games where you really like get sucked into one franchise long term. But I've spent so much time playing Tekken these last 10 years that I've obviously missed out on a lot of cool games. But I remember back in the day when I was like a console gamer and I had nice iframes. I had all kinds of games in my library. You missed Witcher. I own Witcher 3, but I never played it. I started it up, and the main character, what's his name? Jerry the Wizard. Jerry the Wizard was like walking around his castle, and there were hot babes everywhere, and he was like having dinner, and I'm like, I don't know, and I turned it off, and I never played it again. I know it's considered like one of the greatest RPGs of all time, but here's my thing with RPGs. I never want to play an RPG or an action game where the character is pre-written. The main character is pre-written. Okay? One of the main enjoyable parts for me is that you create your own character, and then there are different ways you can build and specialize. And then you choose what you want your character to look like and what you want your character to be. That's my whole thing. And so when some sort of fucking video game writer, and we've already talked about how, I mean, completely and pathetically useless they are, have like come up with a character, and his name is Jerry the Wizard, and here's his wife, and here's his dog, and here's his favorite sword, and I just go around talking to people, and the dialogue is written by these people. To me, it's just like watching a shitty fucking movie where I have to do all the work. Like that's why I could never. I liked the old God of War games when he was still Greek, because the combat was fun, you know. But the new God of War games where he's like walking around having feelings and this like pre-written story is unraveling. I'm like, if I wanted to enjoy a good story about Vikings, I probably have much better fucking options, you know, than this fucking video game, you know, about a sad dad. Dad of War, yeah. It's like when somebody came in here and told me to play Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, yeah, unlikely. Big damage, dude. In the head. Big damage in the head. Big damage in the head. That's gonna be the if I do become a Hammer main, that's gonna be the motto of this channel going forward. Big damage in the head. I'm gonna recreationally suffer head injuries just to be on point with the message. Do choose for Geralt? Yeah, I don't like games where you choose for the character either. I don't like that. I don't like, there are many of those games where like you have to play as Jerry the Wizard, but then you can like choose to say, well, that sounds like it might have been your fault, or you can choose to say, I completely agree with you, and then it's like Steven is going to remember that, and then like the story takes like some vague fucking turn because of the choice you made, and that's supposed to imply agency. It's just a fucking flowchart. Going to turn my way. This is not the head, but we're going to do it anyway. How do I do the spinning jumping attack? I want to try it. completely destroyed one of those bugs. Oh no, so close! That's what your mom said when I pulled out. Got him. Get these parts right here while he's there. High frames. Get the head. Oh no, really? Get back up there. Let him bang his head, then jump back up on the head afterwards. This is how you're supposed to do mounting in this game, I think. It's very different in Wilds. Wow, what a tail range. Let the charge go during slide. Okay, cool. Let's try it right now. Might as well learn. That is so sick. Yeah, I should be a hammer, man. I think I found my weapon, guys. That is incredibly sick. Oh, he turned this way up the slope. What a bitch. We're winning though, for sure. Red Dead Redemption 2 got you emotional? Hey dude, more power to you. I hear a lot of people like those games. I'm not saying it's like wrong to enjoy. I'm saying it's just not my style, you know. That's all it is. Like, I've never been impressed with the story in a Final Fantasy game. I think it's ham-fisted fucking commentary on classism with, and then you just throw in a world tree and some crystals. And then you've got like a fucking Final Fantasy mainline story that people are gonna cry over. It's like Final Fantasy VII. We live underground, but all the rich people live up there. And then there's always like some fucking world tree and some magical crystals. But Aerith is cute. Yeah, well, you know. On the internet, anime titties are a dime a dozen, dude. They're not even a dime a dozen. They're free. And you can get way more than a dozen, dude. You can get a billion fucking anime titties for no money at all. If it's called Final Fantasy, why is it repeating? Well, there you go. It shouldn't be called Final Fantasy. It should be called The Last of Our Ideas. These are the final ideas. Let's just iterate on our final ideas. If you enjoyed Diablo, did you also play Path of Exile? No. I downloaded Path of Exile once and I gave up quite early in. But a lot of people obviously have a lot of respect for Path of Exile. I hear so many good things about it, and apparently the sequel is going to be sick. So it's another one of those games when I was like looking for a new main game to stream instead of Tekken that I considered. I could see myself getting into Path of Exile for sure. Apparently it has a lot of build complexity and you can go really nerdy with it, which I think is awesome. I got a silver crown. What's that? What's a silver crown? Hey guys, look, we can make it the Magda Floga. Hell yeah! Equipped now. Bet your ass. But now I need to get... Damn, the handle looks kind of whack. That's going to be so hard to hold. Oh, look. Oh, no. There's a proper handle up there with a grip on it. And it actually has a hand guard and everything. Okay, awesome. That's great. Because if you're supposed to hold that thing and swing it, that's not going to work. Okay, it's cool. It's got proper handle. It's the boom hammer. I think we might have to get some more, like... thematically appropriate armor for this though, because right now I've got like a sort of a bone shaman vibe going on. You have small crowns for very tiny monsters and silver and gold crowns for huge monsters. Basically they are rare. Okay, what can you do with them? What can you do with them? Are they used for crafting? Let's see here. Preview. Yeah, you can preview armor here, which is cool. Dude, this set looks sick. This set looks sick. Oh, there's one with a cape as well. That looks really sick. Strategist. Okay. Ingot helm. Yeah. This is a pretty cool vibe. I like the fact that this one comes with a skirt for sure. This looks sort of paladin, lance, gun lancy. It's just for hunters to collect. Oh! These legs give you a really fucking fat ass and big ass thighs. That's cool. Because I have a really fat ass and big ass thighs in the real world, so it makes me feel included. Oh, damn. This set's pretty awesome. Oh, wow. I'm like the Fire Lich King, dude. This is sick. I guess this is the monster that goes with the hammer, so it makes sense. Yeah, here, Dodogama. He's like one of my favorite new monsters. I think this is one of the coolest looking monsters in the game. I love the Dodogama. He's like a Pokemon. Damn, this looks great. Okay, so it's just two different colors. I think I like the darker one better. Oh, I'm totally getting this. It's perfect. Look at that headdress. It's like the perfect intersection between like the fiery warrior vibe and the sort of more shamanistic vibe. Look at this headpiece. This is the coolest headpiece in the game so far. What else do you got? This one's obviously awesome. I love the belt. That the flies are like living in this little container. Wrath Hearts. This is from the Pink Rathian. Again, I like the skirt. I don't love the beret though. I love his attacks. Yeah, Dodogama is a big bro, dude. If This one looks way better. It comes with a ponytail as well, which is cool. If Dodogama was a Pokemon, he'd be on my team. Put it that way. Okay, so you can be like a rich Italian person in a ski resort if you want to. This one's really sick as well. How about like I go for this with the Gastrodon helm? I think this looks awesome. I look kind of like a disco dancer almost. Just need to kill a couple more Gastrodons for these, and then for the Anjanath, I just need to kill a couple of Anjanaths, right? Oh, there's one that comes with a cape that's made of fur? Yeah, this is the look. This is totally the look, right? This is what I'm going for sure. Let's see here. Fire attack, I don't need that. Special ammo boost, fire attack. Is anything here going to give me like more blast damage? Because I'm going to do a blast damage build right now, right? Horntor. Free meal? What? What is this? You can make this from those little bugs? Really? This one's crazy. Oh, this is the wasp one. That's really cool as well. Blast damage is always fixed. You have to craft charms. Okay. That's good though. Because then I can wear whatever armor I want and I'm not like, you know, sub-optimizing somehow. And then the bone set, which I've loved since the start. Okay. So we have a goal for next stream. Next stream I'm going to make an armor set that goes with this hammer, and then I'm going to fucking blast things in the head with it. But I think I'm going to end the stream right there because I have stuff to do now. Like I mentioned earlier, I have to plan a move, which is going to be, you know, a whole thing. So... oh, your armor becomes obsolete, so there's another rank after high rank. I get it. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for watching the stream. And like, great turnout. I'm streaming early in the morning on a weekday, and I've had hella viewers. I got new subscribers. I got a new member. So let's thank everybody. Gumo Argent Dawn. I'm guessing he's a World of Warcraft player whose character is called Gumo, and he plays on Argent Dawn. And I'm also going to guess that he's a Blood Elf Hunter or Paladin because everybody is. But, you know, thank you so much. Uncle Hyena for becoming a member. Huge deal. Thank you so much. And Besserda for subscribing as well. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I really enjoyed this, and I'm going to try and be more consistent with it. Maybe we'll do more streams that are a little bit shorter, like this one, 2 to 3 hours, and we can hang out more, you know? See you next time.